City say shots were and that multiple people were struck. There are early reports of 8 to 10 people injured. That's not confirmed by police. This happened as thousands had gathered for a victory parade and rally celebrating the Chiefs' Super Bowl win. It was near the end of that celebration.
My daughter said she heard fireworks, or what she thought were fireworks. And then everybody just literally started running right towards us.
Police in Kansas City are confirming at least 2 armed people were taken into custody for investigation. Lawmakers are being briefed on what's described as a serious national security threat, and a top House Republican wants President Biden to declassify information about it.
White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says he's briefing congressional leaders Thursday and would not publicly discuss the matter.
Americans understand that there are a range of threats and challenges in the world that we're dealing with every single day. And those threats and challenges range from terrorism to state actors.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says there's no need for public alarm, and the leaders of the Senate Intelligence Committee said they have the intelligence in question, but must be cautious about disclosing sources and methods that may be key to preserving options for U.S. action.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. A source tells Fox News the threat involves an emerging capability involving Russia that would be grave, but is not immediate. New York City and its education department now suing social media companies, becoming the latest to accuse platforms including TikTok, Facebook, and Snapchat of fueling a youth mental health crisis. Nationwide, New York's mayor says the goal is to force tech giants to change their behavior and to recover the costs of addressing the public health threat. A late rally on Wall Street, the Dow up 150 at the bell. America is listening to Fox News.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hello, America. It's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you don't have Consumer Cellular yet, now is the perfect time to switch and save. For a limited time, new customers can get wireless service for as low as $15 a month for your first year. Yep, the same exact nationwide coverage as the leading carriers for $15 a month for an entire year. What are you waiting for? Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and use code RADIO15.
See consumercellular.com/firstyear15 for promotional details.
Recapping our top story, a shooting near the end of a Super Bowl victory celebration in Kansas City. Early reports of 8 to 10 people injured and 2 armed people in custody. The California Highway Patrol shares results of a 5-day crime-fighting blitz.
California Governor Gavin Newsom deploying 120 additional highway patrol officers to Oakland as part of a 5-day crackdown on crime, specifically auto thefts. Revealing officers made 71 arrests, recovered 145 stolen vehicles, and seized 4 firearms linked to crimes.
Let me be clear now. We have no intention of leaving tomorrow or anytime soon. We're all in on this. We want to help Oakland Police Department. We want to help Alameda County. We want to help the communities of Oakland become safer.
CHP Commissioner Sean Dury tells Fox's KTVU in the Bay Area they're just getting started, noting 72 CHP officers are currently patrolling the Oakland area and plans for more crime-fighting surges are underway. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Valentine's Day shoppers may have some sticker shock with chocolate prices on the rise.
I'm at Eigner's Chocolate in Queens. It's been around for 90 plus years, but a couple of things are driving this price increase, right? What goes into chocolate? Cocoa. So there's been a crop shortage in Western Africa. That's driving up some of the prices. Some of the packaging too, the cost of that has gone up. It has to look good if you're going to give it to your honey. Another thing is labor. The cost of minimum wage, that's been rising.
Fox Business's Kelly O'Grady in New York City. The higher prices aren't stopping people from spending, though, with more than $25 billion expected to be spent for Valentine's Day, and nearly 6 in 10 shoppers buying chocolate and candy. So recapping stocks, they had been slightly higher for much of the day, but at the closing bell, the Dow up 151 points. The NASDAQ with the biggest rally up more than 200. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for East Central Illinois, Champaign-Urbana and vicinity. Nice days worth of mid-February Valentine's weather ahead for the day today. Next in a series of these almost Clipper-style weather systems on the move. Later on tonight and tomorrow, more significant colder air system due in for the end part of the week. That will likely introduce a bit of snowfall in some areas, particularly north of Champaign. Quick turnaround in temperature readings expected early next week after a cold weekend, at least on Saturday. Mostly sunny, close to 50 today. Southeast to south wind for tonight, increasing cloudiness, a bit of rain after midnight, low down to 39, pick up on the southeast wind tomorrow. Some rain in spots for the morning, the windy turning cooler for the afternoon, partly sunny, high to about 47. The west-northwest wind 15 to 25 and gusty. We'll bottom out in the 20s tomorrow night, and maybe some snow, a mixed snow and rain for Friday afternoon. Highs up to 36. We'll struggle to 30 with sunshine, a much colder Saturday, recover to 41 on Sunday, into the 40s for next Monday and Tuesday. For Stevie J Broadcasting, I'm Rochus, Greg Solier.
Different focus tonight. I think you guys found out the other day I wasn't very happy just in our pregame conversations, and I've spent 2 days just trying to reconnect this team in terms of what we do on the defensive side and how we go about it, and having a little emphasis on that. And it's amazing how offense becomes easier when you don't worry about it. And I thought tonight was a great example of that. I didn't know Terrence had 31 until I post game. But he guarded the basketball like he did early, and we got connected that way, and that makes things easier for us. But I thought our emphasis last 2 days, we didn't work 1 second on offense. We knew they were going to play a little zone. We worked on that today in shoot around. But it's all been about the defensive side and just getting back to guarding. The only thing that we didn't do on that side today was loose balls and just come up with them. We got to be much better at that. That didn't impact this game, but it can impact us in March. So Coleman was fantastic. Thought he set the tone when they went to zone, getting the ball in the middle to him, and he just sprays it. And, the last thing he does is look to score, but he throws that thing out and gets TJ a couple wide open threes. 50% from the three-point line. You'll take that every night. 12 of them. I keep wishing we would shoot more, but tonight was a solid night. And then I thought defensively, we talked a lot about keeping them off the three-point line. I thought that was the one way they could beat us, is if Williams and Namari and Llewellyn made threes, they throw one in the last minute. So we did a great job there following the game plan, and all in all, a good night.
Definitely a good night for the Illini. It usually is when Brad Underwood goes up against Juwan Howard, and that was the case yet again, extending his record to 8-0 over the former Fab Five member. It was 97-68 last night, an absolute explosion of points, better defense, and we'll talk all the different angles of it. Terrence Shannon, 31 points.
Wow.
11 of 15 from the field, went just absolutely nuts, hitting threes late in the first half. Had the heater going in the second half as well. Coleman Hawkins was spectacular. That was a feel-good win for the Illini, needing it after a tough one in the way that it ended in East Lansing on Saturday. But you face the worst team in the Big Ten on your home floor. They don't have Doug McDaniel. That's what Michigan's been doing. They've been going to opposing buildings and getting just smacked, and Illinois was the next one to smack them across the face. This one not in a handshake line, this one on the court. So, yeah.
I'll tell you what. Of course, Andrew had a game last night. Speaking of getting smacked around, we did. But I don't get Peacock, whatever. We know the story. So I watched the highlights, and I wanted to see the handshake line. Not because of any fireworks. You remember when, Kevin Warren essentially handed Michigan the Big Ten title, and, those were games that Brad Underwood puffed his chest out and shook Juwan Howard's hand like, I just whipped your butt. Last night, he was almost like apologizing. He wasn't, and it was normal. But it was almost like Derek, you can talk smack for a while if you and I were playing Nerf hoop, but after about the 8th time you've beat me, you're probably feeling bad for me.
Yeah.
You're just like, hey, Lon, sorry about that, man. I didn't mean to hit 10 straight shots on the Nerf hoop. And it's like, instead of talking smack, and Brad wouldn't do that, but I just was like, Wow. I mean, this isn't even a contest anymore between these two, and Michigan is as down as I've ever seen them. And I'm sure I'm reacting to today and not looking back. You know, I know probably in the last 50 years, Michigan has had a couple of seasons that have not been good, but it's downright embarrassing how bad they are. But that said, there's a reason they looked bad last night, and that Illinois team was unbelievable. And you pointed out all the highlights, Derek. Terrence Shannon, if you get that kind of play out of him, look out. I mean, this is a tournament team in March that could do a lot of damage if he's doing that. Coleman Hawkins is as confident as he's ever been. He played solid defense. I love when he shoots a three. I feel like I'm almost as confident in him shooting a three than anybody on this team, and he shoots it in rhythm. You know, he's a good passer. I know Guerrier was giving him a lot of credit for the passes he makes. That was a confident team last night that came out and played like they did. And you guys called it. You guys called the blowout. I didn't call such a blowout, but I did mention yesterday, wouldn't it be nice to just go out and run Michigan off the court and just get that kind of confidence back, not only in the team, but in the fan base as well, because I feel like the last few games you've been kind of, like Stevie J just said when I walked in, he's like, hey, I can handle that kind of game. I was able to just lay down on the couch and enjoy it, not pace all over the floor. And it's true. I just loved how confident they were. I loved how they dominated that game.
They came out with a great intensity about them.
Yes.
I thought defensively you could see that early, the way they were pressuring the ball and trying to make things difficult. Now, Michigan made some shots and kind of hung with them through the first handful of minutes. And there was a stretch in the middle of the first half where Illinois had some lapses, weren't getting loose balls, and allowing some easy marches to the rim, which have kind of been a theme here of late. But that defense buckled down. Terrence was really good on that end, which was great to see because we know how capable he is offensively, even at 28 against Michigan State, although missed shots late.
Sure.
But I've been waiting to see the Terrence Shannon I was familiar with earlier in the season on defense. And I thought that last night he looked like that guy. Illinois got out in transition. Had some fun moments of like Coleman's a pass that like split two defenders, a bounce pass that led out to a fast break. There was like a little bit of a three-man action between Terrence, Coleman, and Ty. Just great unselfish play with passing. I think it was a no-look by Terrence to Coleman. Coleman with a wraparound to Ty and a finish. So it was fun basketball. And Michigan's a really bad team, very much defensively having a terrible year. So that's what you're supposed to do against them. You're supposed to ring up a lot of points, hold them down the way that they did. And, Juwan looks defeated. Oh. And that's kind of where it's like he's just kind of caught in no man's land where he can't get mad because there's nothing that he can do. So at one point when Terrence, I think it was early second half, continues to just be on fire, Juwan just like turned and looked off the court and smiled. And he's just like, wow. I'm sure in his head he's like, man, if we had that guy, which we'll hit on because he had some things to say. I was glad that he went there because it's been like, I wouldn't say unspoken, but it's been whispered around or just maybe louder than whispers that Terrence was going to go to Michigan if not for the academic things not aligning. So he ends up not going there, goes back to his home state and goes to Illinois, and the rest is history. So, but yeah, on the note of Michigan being just this flat out sad, you'd have to go back to John Beilein's first year in 2007, 2008. They were 10 and 22.
Oh, wow.
There were some lean years there with Tommy Amaker. They were 13 and 18.
Yeah, that's true.
And then in his first year, 11 and 18. But right now, Ken Pom says this is projected to be a 10 and 21 squad for Michigan. Wow. And good luck trying to find 2 wins on the rest of their regular season. They're 8 and 17 right now. They do get to play Ohio State, who we'll talk about that. Ooh. Chris Holtmann getting the axe today, but this is a brutal Michigan team, especially away from home, and they looked the part that way last night for sure.
To jump off that real quick, there are ways you could get fired from a radio show if you cursed, if you said something that was, not good, or if, like 3 years ago, you said that Chris Holtmann was the best coach in America. Like, I feel like Stevie should walk down right now and hand me the papers and be like, look, it was a good run, Lon. Obviously, you're getting a little weary in the brain. I did not see this happening at Ohio State. I know it's a younger team. They're sophomores, and we'll get to that. I want to get back to the point at hand. But Yeah, I'm calling myself out on the carpet there because, boy, I was shocked that this thing has turned so bad on Chris Holtmann. I respected him and thought he was a hell of a coach, but they certainly are not competitive. I know they had the one off the other day, but otherwise they have not been competitive all season. It's been, they're lucky to score over 50 points, which they did last night, like 54 or 2 or whatever it was against Wisconsin, which, the Badgers can do that. But back to Michigan and back to Shannon. You have to give, obviously, Brad Underwood and the staff all the credit in the world for going out and getting Guerrier, for going out and getting Damask, for getting older, for recognizing Justin Harmon and what he can do. Give a lot of credit to Coleman Hawkins for sticking around and doing what he's doing. It's been fun to watch his progression. But so in no way am I saying that if you didn't have Terrence Shannon, this Illinois team would be as bad as Michigan is right now.
Right.
But it is amazing probably if you handed Michigan Terrence Shannon 2 years ago and kind of then followed the path of both of these programs. Would be interesting to see kind of where each would be. Again, I know for a fact Illinois wouldn't have dropped as bad as Michigan is right now because Brad continues and the staff in the offseason to do great things on the portal. And
they could have been pretty rough last year, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Not that they wouldn't have gotten someone instead of Terrence Shannon.
No, but you're right. You're right.
But without him and Matthew Meyer were your big additions, and that team was
that's true. I mean,
sketchy down the stretch.
I don't think you would have been as bad as Michigan is this year, but still,
that's hard to do.
But you're right. I mean, that team probably doesn't make a tournament last year without Shannon, obviously. So, but yeah, I'm happy to have Terrence Shannon. And what's crazy is I just looked; he just made another 3 from the corner, like literally a minute ago. I mean, how do you? I was watching the highlights and I'm like, did they not just show that? And then I looked. I had to rewind and look at the score, and I'm like, oh, no, that was just the next time down the court or whatever. I mean, he hit from the same spot on both ends of the court, and then everybody went over to that spot. That was like like somebody was playing. Illinois was having so much fun they were playing horse. So Shannon's like, I'm going to hit one from here. Here in the next 3 possessions, Damask, you've got to hit one from here. Goody, you've got to go hit one from there. Guerrier, it's your turn now. You're fourth in line. And they all just kept making that corner 3, and then Shannon was doing the step back. When he's in step back mode and draining them, he's feeling it. And last night, certainly, he was doing that. And even when he missed, he got his own rebound, made a great pass to Hawkins on the perimeter. When this team shares the ball, and they have all year. I'm not saying they didn't, but I think without Shannon, it got a little bit more of a slower pace, obviously, booty ball stuff with Damask. When they're sharing it like they did last night, look out. And I know there's going to be tougher teams in Michigan, and we know that this next game at Maryland is going to be probably an absolute dogfight that you'll hope to win. But, man, that was fun. And you got to have those on occasion. And it's fine if it's Michigan on the other end. Or Indiana, or Iowa.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And for as many years as John Beilein was giving it to Illinois,
Amen.
I tweeted it out last night. He was 17-8 during his time at Michigan against Illinois. Down the latter portion, from like middle on in his career at Michigan to the end, he had won 14 of 16 against the Illini before taking the Cavs job. Then, of course, Juwan gets the job, and Michigan hasn't beaten Illinois since. So it's been good to see the way that has obviously played out for Illinois. They were one of those teams. Purdue had beaten Illinois for a long, long time, especially on the road. Wisconsin, obviously, being able to snap some of those streaks under Brad Underwood. And to circle back a little bit, we are going to talk more about Holtmann, but when you think about just the ebbs and flows of some of these coaching careers through the Big Ten, like Holtmann had some highs. I mean, he was playing in the Big Ten tournament final against you back in 2021, and while Illinois won that, Ohio State ended up getting a 2 seed, then lost in the first round, but they had some really good teams. Obviously, Michigan has been up. They were a 1 seed that same year, and now they've been in the basement and even further. So to have Illinois' consistency has been something that Illinois fans have long sought out. I know that, of course, they want the run in March, but that's been something that you certainly love, and whenever you can just smack around a team that you hate, although it'd be nice if Michigan was a little bit more competitive, so it meant a little bit more, right? But just to To leave it to where Juwan Howard and Hunter Dickinson are pretty much like just speechless on the note of Illinois. Like they can't say anything. They can't put rebuttal with anything. They just have to take their medicine and move on. Like that's something for a squad that had a lot to say back in 2021, and to the point where I've told it before, when Brad went in Ann Arbor pregame to go fist bump the Michigan staff, and Juwan just cold shouldered him.
Wow.
It was one of those like, oh, okay. And then they beat him by like 26. And the feeling around, I remember talking to some people in the program, like, yeah, we kind of slapped the ego off of him, the smugness.
I love it.
So anyways.
I guess there's the chance, right? We could still run into Michigan at the Big Ten tournament.
Could, yep.
This is
Is Michigan going to get to Friday?
They'd have to get the Friday.
There's no way.
No, there's no way. But
Did Doug McDaniel play then? I think he probably will be part of that.
I would assume. I mean, there's at least, and then like Hunter, you never know in the NCAA tournament. But
true.
I don't want to go out on a limb yet and just say, hey, the rest of their lives are going to be on vacation in the Caribbean going, damn, I never beat Illinois. Like, hey, Hunter, hey, he sees an Illini fan. He's like, oh, God, don't look at him. Don't look at him. Walk the other way. But, yeah, I mean, it's been fun to dominate those two.
And Juwan never lost to Illinois as a player.
That's true. So Illinois getting a little bit of some payback there. It's great. I mean, it's not great to hear, but when you talk about how kind of low Illinois was through those years, I mean, Wisconsin had beaten you, 15 straight times?
Yep.
Think about that happening. I mean, that should never happen. That blows my mind, that stat. And as you said, Beeline going, 14-2 or whatever in his last 16 against you. I mean, that's disgusting to understand where this program was. And, yes, Brad Underwood has to win in March. We all agree with that. But it is nice having your program back where Illinois fans think it deserves to be. And through the years have proven it should be a top 20 program. And obviously Brad's got you close to a top 10. But it's just nice to be turning this thing around now after the stretch you went on where you were so bad to now go in and you're the dominant team in a lot of these series. That's fun.
Right. And to circle back to what you were saying about Shannon, he's one of those guys that, of course, he's not going to do it himself, but he inspires that confidence. How many years, pretty much every year, we see a star or a handful of stars in the big dance lead their team on a pretty sometimes special run, but at least getting them a few rounds through where it's like, okay, this guy explodes for high 20s, 30 points, makes a key play in crunch time. It was boiled down to, okay, two really good teams, but one had Terrence Shannon and one did. And that's what Illinois fans are hoping to hear when it comes time, the middle and late March, maybe even into April, potentially. There's still a long way to go. I don't want to get the cart before the horse just because Illinois beat Michigan like everybody else is doing in the Big Ten. But to see that version that we were familiar with earlier in the year, to look like last night the way he was shooting threes, it was reminiscent of the way that he knocked him down against UCLA last year. Where that guy's on a heater like that. We know what he can do downhill. We know the way he can attack the basket, but when he's shooting the 3-2, you just can't guard him. So that in concert with him playing defense and kind of being a tone setter with the on-ball pressure and making it where Illinois has some physicality, some bite, some aggression to their defense again, which they've been missing of late. That all was really good to see.
I just mouthed to Kyle because I'd forgot, but Luke Goody's going to join us at 4:05 today. I just can't wait to ask him what that's like. I mean, just to be front row and center or on the court when Terrence Shannon is doing stuff like that. Look, I played with some pretty good players back in the day, but nobody did that kind of stuff. Not many people can do that stuff. And to be able to watch a guy that just isn't missing and is doing everything right, and you wrote about it in your was that you on the Stars of the Game?
I did do that.
Yeah. About how defensively he brought it last night too. He was active. He's making steals. He was changing shots. We talked about it yesterday that's what made him an All-American, not just the ability to do what he does on the offensive end, but to do it on the other end. And you got Terrence Shannon back full tilt last night, and I hope now that continues through the rest of the year.
I'm excited to hear what Luke has to say about the band, whether the band brought it last night or not.
Well, yeah. Did they play concerto or like some, I don't know what those I'm not a classical music guy. So
the band has been under fire. How did they respond to this adversity? Were they on the hot seat? Let's pivot though. Let's talk a little bit about Coleman Hawkins too, because he obviously deserves it. Speaking of, I mentioned 14 of 16 for John Beilein. I think it's been 14 out of 16 games that Coleman scored in double figures. And there was some big questions for him as he returns back from the NBA draft process that he had to address this upcoming year, and that could he be more assertive and consistent as a scorer? Could he shoot the three more efficiently, be a knockdown three-point shooter, potentially as considered a stretch big man? Well, to be a true stretch threat, you got to make that shot better than 28%, which had been his career percentage going into this year. And then can he limit turnovers, just be a little bit more steady? And on the whole, yes, he's had some moments of being emotional and maybe a dicey decision here with a pass or whatnot, but he's been really consistent. He's been super confident with his jumper that is a 40% three-point jumper this season in the Big Ten. I think on the whole of the season it's 39%, so pretty much in that same range.
Wow.
And he's had 17 assists in the last 3 games. So you're able to have him be a guy. He was really good in the middle of that zone last night, and really wherever he is on the court, he sees the floor really well. And he has 1 turnover last night, so he's making fewer mistakes as far as that goes. He looks like a bona fide NBA draft pick. I know that I was in doing some research for my writing. I went back and tried to see the most recent mock drafts for ESPN and The Athletic, and ESPN did one last month. He wasn't in it. The Athletic did their best 100 players on their big board. It was early December where Coleman, I know he had been hurt with the knee and wasn't playing all that great to start the year. He wasn't even on their top 100 for draftable prospects. That's going to change as we go into the latter portions of this year, especially if he keeps this up.
I don't know how you can't watch him. Now, again, I've continuously told you I don't understand the NBA. I don't. I mean, the guys that I think are sure, like, why wouldn't he play in the NBA? Why wouldn't he be able to at least get a role? And Coleman fits that bill. To me, it's, I always hear about, he's a big man, but he can't defend. Not Coleman, but others that, like Kofi. Well, Coleman can defend, and he can defend the perimeter probably better than he can defend the post sometimes.
Yep.
So in that situation, that check mark is there. I give Brad Underwood credit, the last 2 seasons, he has continuously said Coleman's got to shoot the ball. And I know there were probably a lot of Illini fans that were like, I don't agree with you, Brad, and I don't know what you see that you think he needs to shoot. But there were times where he was so unselfish that it hurt your team, and now he's not. Now he's taking rhythm shots. He wants the ball, and he wants to shoot. Now, he's not going to get out of hand for the majority. I don't think he's ever going to pump up 20 shots on a night. But I love the idea that he wants to shoot now. And I give Brad a lot of credit for that because he and that staff have been on Coleman Hawkins for 2 years to shoot the ball. And I give him credit for that, and Coleman should give him credit for that. He should be the one that says, I appreciate your confidence in me, and I'm sure he does. Everything about him, he seems like a good young man. I understand that he is emotional, and I don't know that sometimes that's not bad. Sure. I know you can't, we all get tired of watching somebody scream for fouls. I mean, we all, like we joked with Luke Goody one time, I'm like, well, Coleman still hasn't fouled anybody all year. So I don't know why they keep calling fouls on him. That gets old. Other than that, though, I mean, to the point where I love his post-game comments.
I do too.
He's great at post-game comments. He's always handing out great compliments for everybody else on the team besides himself. He uses awesome words. He used a word last night, and I can't recall what it was now, but I'm like, that's a great use of that word. And
he's hilarious on social media.
I mean, the one with Gary A. Did you see that one?
I did see it.
Oh, my goodness. That was hilarious. So,
which, if you didn't, to fill you in, someone tweeted, I'm assuming an older...
Yeah, I know her. Patty.
Oh,
yeah, I know her.
A lady tweeted that I shouldn't be saying this, but Quincy Guerrier is so handsome. She said because of the age difference, I shouldn't be tweeting this. And Coleman said, no worries. I'm paraphrasing here. You guys are pretty close to the same age.
I mean, and then Guerrier just answered with a bunch of laughing emojis. He brings some fun to a team. And I know when you're winning at a high level and 18 wins now, and you're going to have a lot more fun regardless. But I just like Coleman. I've been a Coleman fan for his entire career here. I've appreciated the fact that he's stuck around all this time. He's going to go down as one of my favorites. And I hope for a guy like him, as much as I really hope for Brad Underwood for March success, I hope for a guy like Coleman Hawkins that this team has success in March and that kid finds a spot in the NBA and has a chance to be kind of an impact guy on a team. Whether or not you play a lot or not, he just seems like a kid that I would want around my either organization or program, and I think he's proven that here in Illinois.
Yeah, and on the note of him being unlikable to opponents and even annoying some of his own fans at sometimes because of his complaining a little bit and some of his emotions, but a lot of really good teams have had instigators through the years, trash talkers, guys that like to get under other people's skin. And it's one of those, like a Lucas Johnson. I'm not saying they're the same player, obviously,
right,
but it was a guy you loved if you had him and a guy that you hated if you're playing against him. You've seen it through the Big Ten over the years of guys that just.
Who was the kid at Wisconsin that flopped all the time?
Oh, Brad Davison.
Yes.
Yeah, Brad Davison. For different reasons, of course, why they might be unlikable and whatnot. But, there's a Draymond Green type for Golden State or the Rodman factor through the years with the Bulls. And, look, these are different skill set type of players. But, and I think that Coleman, for the most part, has done a good job of, while he's shown emotion, his game has been a lot more steady this year. He hasn't made it to where he flies off the handle and maybe makes a mistake or doesn't get a call, and then all of a sudden he's going to then just make 3 more mistakes after that or lose his mind. So I think that is fine. I mean, I love the fact that if there's a couple chirpy people in the front row at Michigan State that he hits a 3 and says, boom, I think that's great.
I do too.
There's something about having a swagger about you. Brad's talked about that since the very early stages of coming here, that he wants guys that have swagger and confidence, and Coleman's one of those guys. So
amen.
I appreciate covering Coleman. I've enjoyed it, even if he's disagreed with me sometimes on social media, which is fine. I've never taken it personally, but yeah.
I love that he owns that. Like some people, Marcus DeMass probably doesn't look at Twitter at all. He probably is. I think he's on Twitter, but I doubt he even looks at it. He's probably like, I don't want anything to do with that. Coleman loves it, man. He probably gets home and is like, what Piper say tonight? And just looks to see what guys are saying. You nailed it when you just said that. The Muhammad listener on the U of I Atlanta Lake text line, he nailed it as well, or she, I'm sorry. People have a short leash with Hawkins, but, man, they're going to miss him next year.
Yep.
I agree. He just does so many little things. I think coaches appreciate Terrence Shannon for what he can do for being an All-American, right? They appreciate Guerrier, who can get you 10 rebounds. They appreciate all that. But to have a guy in Coleman that can run the point if needed, that can lead you in assists like he did last night, that can step out and hit threes and stretch the floor, bringing a big man out, that's huge. He's good defensively. If you're in a press situation, he can bail you out down the court. If you play zone, teams probably would play more zone against Illinois if Coleman Hawkins wasn't on that team. So you ask a coach that's been around for a long time, any coach in college, and you say, hey, what would be the value of a guy that can do all these things? Oh, hell, he'd be my first pick. I mean, somebody that doesn't have to lead you in scoring all the time, doesn't have to lead you in rebounds all the time, doesn't have to lead you in assists all the time, but he's always right there in all those categories and can bring the ball up in situations where you need it. He can bust a zone with his passing or his shooting. He's good defensively. He can defend the perimeter. What can't he do that isn't a bonus for Illinois? He can hit free throws. I mean, he's the kind of guy, if I'm a coach, you give me that dude and I'll work everything around him. It just takes a lot of pressure off any team and any coach when you've got a guy that is that. What do they call those? Like the thing you keep in your glove compartment that has all the
Swiss
different
Army
tools.
knife?
Yeah, I mean, he's that, right? He can do a little bit of everything, and to have a guy like that on your team, to me, is value. And I think people that really understand basketball, and I would obviously throw all the coaches in this, they would understand how important a guy like that is to your program and why you're going to win.
Yeah, that's really well said. I think that the number of teams that have their 5-man get switched onto Boo Buie, Tyson Walker, and Jameer Young, and are immediately just cringing and tightening every muscle in their body it's pretty immense, except for Illinois is one of the rare exceptions because Coleman can guard those guys and stay in front of them. And the guard might, I think I've even seen it sitting courtside. I think Bowie, like his eyes light up. He's like, I got the switch that I wanted. And no, you actually don't. You're not going to be able to probably get off a good shot here because he's got that length. He's got great anticipation, and he can move like that. So he's a rare breed. I know that basketball is going more and more in that direction where you have these versatile, long type, quote unquote, big guys like a Coleman Hawkins. And I even think, Merez Johnson's going to come in. They're not the same player. Merez is more of that physical big man, but he moves really well. He's very athletic. That as far as defensively what he can cover, that's certainly something that maybe Illinois would hope to tap into further on past Coleman's time here. But a good example, and I don't want to rag on the guy, like Namari Burnett and Coleman Hawkins both played at Prolific Prep in high school. And Namari was a McDonald's All-American, 5-star talent. He's had some injuries through his college career where that's limited him some, but Coleman was ranked in the 150s. You essentially beat Rutgers for Coleman Hawkins.
Wow.
And look at the way that he's progressed and developed and where Namari's at right now, a non-factor last night. I'm pretty much a non-factor a lot of times in the Big Ten as a starter for a bad team, but that's the development. That's the commitment to stay in. He's one of those traditional old school. It's crazy that we even have to call it old school. An old school 4-year player. But you appreciate those guys, and that
I love it.
He's been through it all, and I know we said that about Trent, DeMonte, and those type of guys as well. But Coleman deserves that to wear that as well.
They live with you, right? I mean, for your memory is what I mean.
Yeah.
They don't actually come and stay with you and eat your Jack's Pizza, but I mean, those are the guys.
I eat a Jack's Pizza and watch a Bears game with Coleman Hawkins.
That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, those are the guys when you just mentioned Trent. I'm like, like all the years he gave you, and I know he played even an extra year, but just guys like that is what, especially people my age, that's what we were used to. We were used to the Corey Bradfords, the Sergio McLeans, go on back through time, guys that, they were really good like Nick or Kendall, they left, but Lowell Hamilton. I mean, guys like that stayed 4 years, and Lucas Johnson, Robert Archibald. I mean,
Sean Harrington.
You were able to you watched them grow, and not only grow, but you watched them grow into really good basketball players that helped your program win at a high level. And to me, that's the most successful. I want to win a national title, and I know Illinois has been close, but the idea of watching those guys help me win as a fan the majority of the time that I have bragging rights over anybody else on any other school, and they're the reason for it. I truly respect those guys for doing it, and I love it. And you don't see it as much anymore with the portal, with guys leaving earlier for the NBA, and I don't behoove them at all that's wonderful if you can do it, but you don't see many of those guys, like you said, last this long. And Coleman's been through some ups and downs. I mean, he's been like the Muhammad listener said, he's been a short leash guy for a lot of Illini fans. He's easy to kind of get frustrated at, but he has just stuck to his ways and gotten better, and I love it. I'm tired of hearing myself brag about him. I'm just happy for him. Yep. And I like seeing a smile on a basketball court on occasion, and Coleman will do that, and it's fun, man. He's just easy to root for.
Yep, and on the note of just overall, we'll have more thoughts on Illinois and Michigan. 97-68. The blowout helps the metrics. Illinois jumped from 11th to 9th in KenPom. They improved to 9-4 in the Big Ten. Wisconsin won last night as well. They're 9-5. Northwestern, bad news for them today as far as one of their guards. I want to get into that as we go along. Some different Big Ten storylines. They're 8-5 in the Big Ten. Their next game is at the Rack on Thursday. We'll talk more Big Ten hoops as we go along. We've had plenty of you weigh in already. We welcome more. 217-359-2255 on the U of I Illini Lake text line. I want to get Kyle's thoughts on last night's win and more from the text line as well when we return. Stay with us. This is The Drive.
Are you tired of shivering in the winter? Look no further than your local heroes at ABC Heating and Air Conditioning. Hi, this is Gina inviting you to give us a call at 217-352-5400 to book your appointment to make sure your furnace is run safely and efficiently this winter. We've been proudly locally owned and operated and have been serving our community for over 50 years. ABC, always be comfortable. Call me 217-352-5400 to book your appointment today or go to abcheatingandac.com.
First Federal Savings Bank of Champaign-Urbana invested in our community since 1908. Before you buy your home in 2024, we invite you to speak with one of our experienced lenders, Jack, Jim, Kim, or Lane. Experience the convenience of working with a local lender with local service, decisions, and loan underwriting in our comfortable offices. Visit us to experience the exceptional friendly service from our knowledgeable staff. Hey, if you're not already banking with us, give us a try. We think you'll love it here. We do. 356bank.com, First Federal. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 435120.
So when was the last time you saw a best deal guarantee?
You mean a promise that actually held up?
Right.
That some unknown online entity didn't want you to log in and download a code and then re-verify as you join some club.
Drives you nuts, I know.
And then once you purchase that set of steak knives...
Well, Dick Van Dyke Appliance World is a lot simpler. You find a verified great deal and they beat it. Just show them the deal you saw. A newspaper clipping or the online cart price will do, and then you're good.
At Dick Van Dyke Appliance World, it's one of those instances where you see a best deal guarantee and...
you get the best deal.
This is Dennis Reekin, chairman of Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. Our exclusive 10-year protection plan comes free with most appliance purchases. Whether it's a GE, Whirlpool, Frigidaire, Bosch, or any of our 30 brands, I guarantee we will beat any competitor's deal. Wow!
Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. When you buy from us, you get the whole store.
Illini fans, this year we celebrate the 100th anniversary of Memorial Stadium for the 2024 Fighting Illini football season. Season tickets for the 2024 football season are on sale now, and Illini fans who renew their season tickets by February 1st are eligible to win amazing prizes, memorabilia, and experiences. Secure your season tickets for homecoming, Dad's Day, and a special rededication of Memorial Stadium on October 19th against Michigan. Visit fightingillini.com for more information.
Are you one of those guys out there tinting windows day in and day out, all different shades of black, and ready to put a little color in your life? Come work for us. At Aftershock, we're looking for a guy with experience in wrapping, whether it be window tinting, vinyl wrapping, anything of that sort, or somebody with just ambition that wants to show up to work and be proud of what they do. You know those wraps with Troy Lands on the back waving at you? That's our work. Call us, 833-DECAL-IT, or email office@aftershockdd.com. We want you.
Since Busey Bank first opened our doors in 1868, we have built upon a tradition of close relationships and broad financial capabilities. Our experienced team provides the highest level of personalized service to ensure we accomplish your goals, simplifying your wealth management and business lending needs and ensuring a legacy for generations. Building business, growing wealth since 1868. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
We're talking to Nate Evans of the Nate Evans Group, and we're talking about the current market. What does this mean, Nate, for sellers?
Well, right now, if you're a seller, I think you should be able to move forward with confidence. There's such a low supply of homes out there in the market all across the Champaign, Vermilion County, Douglas County. There's a huge backlog of buyers at the moment that are looking for homes to hit the market. I was just looking at statistics the other day, and in Champaign alone, there was about 130 homes for sale is all. A few years ago, we would have 800 homes on the market. So what that means is, with that shortage, it drives the prices up for the sellers, so they can expect a little bit more out of their home with the large demand of buyers out there shopping for them.
So call the only agent I would call if I needed to sell my home. It's Nate Evans with eXp Realty, 217-239-7113, or do an online search to Nate Evans Group to start packing.
Sell your home with Nate. Pick the price, pick the day. Go to theNateEvansGroup.com.
Well, it's no secret financial disputes can cause marriage friction, especially if one partner is a penny pincher and the other is a spendthrift. With the following tips from the financial experts at Busey, You might just appreciate your financial differences and achieve your monetary goals together. Money habits reflect personal experience, including upbringing. Being a spender or a saver may come naturally. Couples sometimes avoid discussing money because it leads to arguments. Avoiding conversation will not help you avoid conflict. To ensure a productive conversation, establish ground rules. Don't assume you know what your partner's thinking. Ask. Be willing to negotiate. Some questions to get you started. Well, what does money represent to you? Security, freedom? What are your short, long-term saving goals? What are your income and expenses, and are you comfortable with debt? Once you explore these topics, create a concrete budget or spending plan that reflects the two of you. Getting on the same page with your partner financially may take work, but can easily budget and track your progress with Busey. Access Money Manager through the Busey.com e-bank and the mobile app, or contact a Busey financial advisor for further advice. Busey's always there to help. Member FDIC.
We've had some texts rolling in on the U of I Atlanta Link text line. I want to get to those in a moment. First, Kyle Toss, we haven't had you weigh in yet. Illinois' big win over Michigan last night. Terrence Shannon's explosion. Coleman doing what he's doing. What stood out to you after what you saw on the court last night at State Farm Center?
So all I wanted was to just have a nice, easy blow out this awful, awful Michigan team at home and not sweat for the final 25 minutes of the game. I don't have any complaints, really. I think just to see Terrence really have just a dominant game, where he's had some games where he's shown flashes of being back to who he was. Last night was like All-American, second best player behind Zach Edey type of performance. 31 points on efficient shooting, got out and ran, and just the 3-point shot coming back around. And yeah, I just thought, I mean, this team is incredible offensively. We don't have to question that. I mean, it was so effortless offense last night for them. I think defensively, there's still a way to go. There's not a ton to take from a Michigan team without McDaniel out there, but that was the get-right game that I wanted to see, to not have to sweat that one and to just prove that you're a far better team than whatever this version of Michigan is right now.
Yeah, Michigan last night, they scored 68 points. They lose by 29. When they played in Lincoln over the weekend, they scored 59 and lost by 20. Prior to that, they scored 62 in East Lansing, lost by 19. They scored 67 at Purdue and lost by 32. So, like, this is what Michigan's been doing. To your point on the note of, like, defense, which I think overall, like, the effort and kind of the way they approached it and just attacked them a little bit more aggressively. I thought the ball pressure was better and whatnot. But we'll see. We'll truly know how much of a step forward they've taken when they play Maryland. Not a great offensive team, but some good offensive pieces like Julian Reese and Jameer Young. And as this thing pushes forward, but yeah, no doubt it was a fun night if you were watching last night as an Illini fan. What do you guys make of Coleman? Do you think, like, where would you slot him if we're gonna mock him? I know we don't watch everybody in the country, but does he look like a middle of the second round type of guy? Do you think he's got the ability to elevate farther than that?
I don't know that he'd be a first-round guy, but I think you're dead on right there. I think if you're a team that would want someone that can shoot a little bit, that can play perimeter defense, that can guard a big, I'm sure they'll worry about, a really strong center being able to abuse him. But do they even have those anymore in the NBA? I'm assuming no. Joel Embiid is you think of him as strong as he is, he goes out and shoots threes all
Jokic
game.
Goes out, but he could back you down.
He can certainly do that.
But he can do that to anybody.
I would think Coleman as a guy that is both tall and athletic and quick. I mean, quick for his size. I don't know why somebody wouldn't take a flyer on him middle second round to the end of second round in a heartbeat. Kyle, would you agree?
Absolutely, especially when you look at this draft class. I know everyone's talked about how down this class is compared to other ones, but you look through this draft class and there's no reason that Coleman Hawkins shouldn't get a look. In fact, if he was 19 instead of 22, I think he's a first-round pick.
You know
easily.
what? That's a great point.
I think the only thing that's holding him back is obviously he's a fourth-year senior. He's 22 now, which just kind of knocks you a little bit. The NBA wants those younger guys that they can develop for a while. But, man, find me a big man who has the skill set and the versatility that Coleman has. I don't think there is one in this entire draft. So I think he absolutely would get a look. I feel like if he finishes the season the way he's played the last month, you could start to see that late first round, early second round type of buzz for him start to come up, because I think he fits almost any NBA lineup, whether you want to play him at the 5, play him at the 4 next to your big man. I think he has the skill set that you want in a modern NBA big.
Yeah, and kudos to you. That's a great point about the age. I would think, though, if you're a team that's kind of on the precipice of winning in the NBA, I'd be okay with a 22, 23-year-old kid coming in. I mean, what's he going to sign, a 2-3-year contract? I mean, if it doesn't pan out after that, then you move on. Instead of getting a 19-year-old maybe that you got to kind of develop for a couple of years. If you're a team, and don't ask me what they are, but if you're a team that could say, boy, he's seasoned and he could really help us kind of down the stretch in a situation, I think that would be perfect for Coleman, and maybe there is that team out there.
Yeah, and I'm by no means an NBA buff, but I know that the Miami Heat have gotten a lot of credit for taking Jaime Jaquez, who is one of the older players in the draft, and he's been a great asset for them, a team that's already in win-now mode. Trace Jackson-Davis is doing some things for the Golden State Warriors. So what if there was a Coleman Hawkinson Pods reunion?
Oh, that.
Or even just to throw Coleman into the mix with Trace as well. That would be fun.
Jaime Jaquez.
Jaquez.
Did you say Jaime
Jaquez?
I
did, yeah.
Jaime Jaquez.
I did. But in terms of like the we had some fun with that, didn't we?
Jaquez.
Johnny Juzang and Jaime Jaquez.
Oh, yeah, those were awesome.
Final Four team.
Then when they
from the
score,
play-in to the Final Four.
Yeah, how crazy! I interrupted you. Sorry, I got excited with the.
Yeah, I agree with Kyle. His ability to shoot it like he is doing right now makes him more playable in different spots offensively. You can have a 5 and he can stretch out to a 4, because when you don't have the ability to knock down shots enough from the perimeter, it limits the ability to want to play you on the perimeter like a 4. And let's be honest, like, you're probably not going to, even though he's a great passer, I think he's probably that connecting piece that moves the ball and makes a good pass. You're probably not going to run a lot of stuff if you're an NBA team through Coleman Hawkins. But, I mean, not saying he can't develop into that if he really takes off. But a lot of times we're seeing it with Ayo with the Bulls.
Yes.
By the way, having a fantastic year, especially since Levine's been out. You've got to be
career high the other night, 29.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
5-3. He's shooting 41% from 3 this year. Woo! On that point, when you're one of those guys around a star, then you got to be that kick-out piece, that guy that can space it and make shots when you are that spot-up player, that 3rd or 4th option, 5th option in the offense. But I think that his ability to move the ball, and some of these teams that I know that NBA ISO ball is prevalent in a lot of teams, but some, like the Warriors, really move it well, and I think Coleman's one of those cerebral guys that could fit into that. So
well, and I think playing off that, he's a guy that can get instant transition.
True.
That's what I like about Coleman, is that he can grab a rebound, and he's already 3 steps up the court dribbling, and he's looking up, right? And it's that he had one last night where he, like, I don't remember who it was, but they were already on the other end of the court, like sitting at the 3-point line. I'm like, wait, did you even play D on that one? But, like, he grabbed a rebound, took 2 dribbles, and then, fires a chest pass all the way up to the other end of the court, and Illinois gets a bucket off that. So I see what you're saying, kind of the hockey pass. Like, he's the first of the hockey pass, where he doesn't get the assist, but he throws it to the guy that then makes the pass that leads to the bucket. I like that idea from you. I think Coleman could easily be that guy.
And I know we're going to get to, although maybe we don't have enough time.
We're running out of time.
We got Luke Goody coming up at 4:05. We do want to hit on the Juwan Howard audio as far as the Terrence Shannon thing. Let's save that. Let's finish with this Coleman thought and then get to a few texts real quick before we catch that break and get to Luke. But I wanted to say it brought to mind, not only I brought up Namari Burnett on that same high school team, but when you think back to that recruiting cycle for Illinois, there were 3 options. I brought this up before. Down low, they were looking at Zed Key, teammate of Andre Curbelo.
That's
and
right.
They're like, okay, would you want to get that back going? Of course, more of a traditional 5. He really has kind of faded in that rotation for Ohio State and really not in that.
He hardly plays.
He'd kind of be like Dane here.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Essentially.
Exactly.
So there was him, there was Coleman, and there was Keon Ambrose, who I think went to I forgot where he landed. Maybe it was Bama or something like that. He might have transferred again. But anyways, it all aligned really well. They picked the right guy. They went in on Coleman. He had the connection because his family was from around Chicago, and man, it's worked out great for him and for Illinois.
Zed Key and Amari Burnett look like the 28-year-old guy hooping with the 18-year-olds. Like, they just look old.
Mm-hmm.
They're slow moving. I don't. Zed was actually pretty good the other day against Maryland. He made some key plays down the stretch of that game. But Amari Burnett, the 4 times I've watched him play this year, I'm like, why is he even on the court? I mean, he honestly doesn't even look like a good college basketball player.
Yep.
And that's crazy to think that he was a 5-star McDonald's All-American. I don't know. He must have been good at Texas Tech, right?
Well,
or was he kind of indifferent there too?
He wasn't great. Then he hit the portal. Then he went to Bama. I think he tore his ACL there, and then
Well, and that would describe. He looks like a guy that's injured. You know, that is like
slow,
that is injury riddled almost. That has really slowed him up.
Yep.
And I think Zed Key's kind of the same way.
Right. Let's get to a couple of texts here before we catch a break. A 651. The ball movement on a couple of those transition buckets was so beautiful. It almost brought me to tears as a basketball lover. If only Harmon would have put the pass up to Dane up high. Was that the one where he tried to throw a bounce pass?
I think.
And then he ends up getting dunked on after that because he falls back and Zay Jackson dunks on him. So
no, you got Coleman screwed with that. Harmon fell over and then Jackson dunked on Coleman.
Oh, okay.
But Coleman was just coming over.
I didn't even know Coleman
contest.
was in the picture of that one. Dang.
Harmon really sold him out there.
2 birds, 1 stone. Yeah. Harmon's got to be
Harmon's
a little
like,
more.
the game's on Peacock. Nobody's watching.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm kidding.
Right. Harmon's got to be a little bit more steady. I
And
think
Dane's got good hands,
yeah.
so you can kind of get away with a bounce pass to him. But, yeah, get it up high. Get it up high.
Let's get to another one here. Kenny says, you guys mentioned it earlier in the show. I think Lon mentioned it about Underwood winning in the NCAA tournament. I think Brad Underwood has done a wonderful job getting this program back from where it was when John Gross was fired. Do you think he needs to get to a Sweet 16 this year? I'm not saying he needs to be fired, but if he doesn't, do you guys think there'll be pressure next year with the talent?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
there'll be pressure. There'll be outside noise, I'll say that. I don't know if Josh Whitman's applying pressure if they don't make the Sweet 16.
Oh, like that. I thought you meant from like a fan base. Oh, no, Josh Whitman's fine.
Right.
Brad Underwood, yeah. But
there'll be fan base pressure.
Big
Sure,
time.
Of course.
Brad's got to get it done. And this is a hell of a team to do it. You got an older, experienced team. You've got an All-American. I don't think he will be now, but essentially an All-American in Shannon. You've got Coleman Hawkins playing as well as he's played. Marcus Damas can do things that other guys on this team can't do in terms of getting a tough bucket late. I mean, this team is a Sweet 16 team.
For sure, yeah.
And anything below that is an absolute disaster to me. I truly feel, I mean, they're ranked 14th in the country. They've been ranked 10th. I know the rankings don't whatever, but I mean, that to me is appropriate for this team as one of the best 16 teams in the country, and they need to get to that second weekend. And I don't want it to just be, we made this sweet. No, I mean, hell, go on a run. Let's get to the Final Four. Let's blow that monkey off the back or whatever it's like, let's don't step our way to the Sweet 16 and then maybe in a couple of years, we finally get to the This team has the capability of going deep. And they've got all the ingredients. If they get their defense looking right, we see how they can score at a big level. You've got guys that shouldn't be afraid of big moments in an NCAA tournament when a game's tight late. I mean, they work together. Yeah, this team definitely has to get Sweet 16 for me, and I'd be fine with it, an Elite 8 appearance at least.
It'll be a considerable disappointment if they don't make the Sweet 16.
Completely
especially
agree.
With 2 NBA guys and Terrence and Coleman and a lot of age around them. You're built to win now for sure. You're going to lose a lot of this roster in the offseason. So, again, I think there will be a lot of noise if they don't get there. I think the eye test really matters. Now, let's be honest. It's going to be the results of – I don't want to get Lon on his 2 games rant. Win 2 games in a weekend to get there. But, not only has Illinois lost in the tournament, they looked pretty terrible.
They have.
They looked terrible against Arkansas. They looked terrible against Chattanooga when they were lucky to win. And they go to in the Houston game, and Houston was clearly the better team. They
Yeah,
looked terrible against Loyola. Like, you got to actually play well. Could you get beat even when you play well? Like, that's why where you're at right now, you'd love to get up to the 3 line, because if you're a 4 seed, you're going to, unless they get upset, a 5 seed in the round of 32, you're pretty much playing a team that's on par with you, and it's kind of like a coin toss game, and anything can happen in March. But yes, this team, the bar of a successful year is going to be the Sweet 16, and I think anything less than that will be a significant disappointment. Will there be pressure, fan noise for sure? Like Josh Whitman pressure, no. And some of these other coaches who have gotten, Turgeon didn't win enough in March, he got fired. Holtman, not enough in March, got fired. But Tom Crean, there was fall-offs where not only did they not win in March, then they didn't make a tournament a year or 2 in a row, and then they got axed or anything like that. I think that's where some fans got to understand the difference between Brad not getting it done in March yet versus some of these other coaches that have gotten let go. We'll talk more about Chris Holtman. That news coming down. We got Luke Goody, though, on the other side here. He's going to join us on the Tapman's Towing phone line. Continue to weigh in, 217-359-2255 on the U of I Line on Link text line. I'm late, Kyle. Sorry. Bye.
You're listening to WSJK ESPN 93.5 Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, your home for the St. Louis Cardinals.
She said the guy next to her just fell to the ground.
Police have 2 suspects in custody. There have been reports some in the crowd helped chase down a suspect. There is no word yet on any motive or whether an altercation may have led to shots fired. The National Security Advisor will give a closed-door briefing to several top House lawmakers tomorrow as the head of the House Intelligence Committee urges declassification of information about a national security threat.
The threat is unclear, but we're told it has something to do with outer space. The information is mysterious, barely fragmentary, but it's something so important that House Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Turner wanted all House members to see it. House Speaker Mike Johnson says he asked for a meeting with the president to talk about what he termed a, quote, serious national security issue. Senate Intelligence Committee Chair Mark Warner and the top Republican on the committee, Marco Rubio, say they, quote, must be cautious about disclosing sources and methods when discussing this. There's a briefing tomorrow for Johnson and other top lawmakers about the threat.
Fox's Chad Pergram on the Hill. Sources telling Fox News the threat involves an emerging Russian capability. The House Speaker offering reassurance to the public that there is no cause for alarm. And again, the National Security Advisor will be briefing some top lawmakers tomorrow. America is listening to Fox News.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers, but for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Up to half the cost for the same thing. 50% the money for 100% the same thing. I hope I'm making myself clear. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Call us at 1-888-FREEDOM.
Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single-line 5GB data plan with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single-line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plan offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023.
Recapping the latest from Kansas City, where police just held a briefing on that deadly shooting that happened at the end of a victory parade and rally for the Super Bowl champion Chiefs. 1 person is confirmed dead. They're saying 10 to 15 injured. They do have 2 suspects in custody, but it's still early in that investigation. Police in Austin, Texas say there's no indication it was intentional when a car crashed into the emergency room of a Texas hospital, killing the driver, injuring 5 people yesterday.
Aerial crews of the Austin Police Department Public Information Office revealing 58-year-old Michelle Holloway has been identified as the driver who was killed after crashing her sedan through St. David's North Austin Medical Center.
3 adults and 2 juveniles that were in the waiting room area were injured and taken to different hospitals for treatment. Some of their injuries were serious but non-life-threatening.
noting officials are not able to share the conditions of 2 pediatric patients who were transported.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. For now, that investigation continues, but they also say no indication the driver had a medical episode. The White House ramping up public pressure on the House Speaker to take up a foreign aid bill.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says Speaker Mike Johnson is negotiating with himself over foreign military aid and border provisions.
He first said he needed to see the border security in the deal.
But Jean-Pierre says Johnson then rejected an immigration measure negotiated in the Senate.
The Senate goes back, takes it out, and presented a national security supplemental without the border. Then he's like, well, I don't want that either. So what is it?
A source familiar says the Speaker wants to meet one-on-one with the president. Jean-Pierre says President Biden hosted congressional leaders about the spending plan less than a month ago. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A late rally on Wall Street, the Dow gaining 151 points, the Nasdaq gaining 203, the S&P closing back over 5K. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for East Central Illinois. Champaign-Urbana this Saturday. Welcome to Valentine's Day and a pretty delightful, mighty sweet weather forecast for the day today. A little rain ahead for the day tomorrow. Big chill relative to recent days coming for Friday into the weekend, including a touch of snowfall. Another big recovery back in the other direction. Briefly milder early next week, and then even colder air. So it's a roller coaster ride here in the next 5 to 10 days. Up near 50 today with sunshine. Some rain after midnight tonight. Breezy to low down to 39. Tomorrow, a bit of rain tomorrow morning, and then a windy, much cooler afternoon in store. Temperatures about 47 and then falling on a partly sunny sky to pick up on the west-northwest wind 15 to 25 and gusty. 20s tomorrow night, only mid-30s on Friday with some snow and rain in the afternoon. Could even be a small accumulation from Champaign on northward. Only 30 on Saturday for the high with sunshine, 41 Sunday, while into the 40s next Monday and Tuesday. Signs of even colder air lurking for late next week as well. For Steve A.J. Broadcasting at Beatrice, Greg Soldier.
It is The Drive with Tay and Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Excited to be joined by our guy, Luke Goody, on the U of I Illini Lake text line. Let's get to him right now. This segment brought to you by some great sponsors.
Uh-oh.
I think the sheet, is it here?
You know what? Hold on. Oh, it's right here. How about I just do it real quick?
Do it.
I got it in front of me. The Luke Goody brought to you by Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend. First Federal Savings Bank, local and trusted, and by Max Twin City Recycling. See, Pipes, when you take a week off.
I was going to say.
For a bad excuse of having a daughter.
I know.
No, I kid.
I know, and I wasn't even the one having the baby.
So I stole your property, man. I stole your property. It's down here.
It's all right. Luke, how you doing, man? On the Tapman Stone
I'm
phone
good.
line. What's
I'm
up?
good. I'm good. Congratulations, by the way. I know I texted you, but
Thank
saying
you.
that in person means a little bit more. So congratulations on that. That's awesome.
That's been a lot. I really appreciate that, man.
That's cool.
I'm sure you enjoyed 97-68 over Michigan last night. You guys have owned Juwan Howard and company through the years. I think that's keeping that up has got to be satisfying for you.
Yeah, 8-0, I think, in the last 8 meetings. So anytime you can do that against a historically great program in Michigan, and I think it says something about your program, being able to win those games, and especially a win like last night, regardless of who played and who didn't play, just against a program like that, it definitely says a lot about the state of your program.
I know 97 jumps off the page. I want to get to that along with what Terrence did offensively, but Brad, all he wanted to do last night was talk defense. It seemed like you guys had some extra juice at that end, especially early on, and I know that Michigan had a couple of plays to the rim, but after that you really shut off that water. It seemed like what Brad said is you guys addressed defense the last 2 days after Michigan State. What was that like in practice to try to get back what had been a really good defensive squad of late? It's not been up to your guys' standards.
I mean, in terms of defense, we were before, Terrence took his little break. We were top 10 in the country in defensive efficiency. I don't know if you guys keep up with KenPom, but I talk about it all the time. And we were actually, I think, in the 60s on offensive efficiency. And, you know, after he kind of went out, that completely flipped. So Terrence is being such a good defender as he is, playing both sides of the ball. I think the biggest hit, I mean, everybody wants to talk offense, but, I mean, it's honestly defense. You can't replace a 6'6", quick, athletic guard that can guard 1 through 4. So, you know, having him back now, we're trying to get back into it. Our offense is, you know, number 5 in the country, so we're one of the most elite offenses in the country, and we just got to get back to doing what we do on the defensive side. I think that'll come with time for sure, and just kind of getting back to what we do. But I think holding Michigan to, you know, 68 in a game like that, I think is a pretty impressive thing to do.
Luke, obviously it was different circumstances with you being injured. You missed a lot more time last season, but you had to kind of fight your way back last season to kind of get into a groove before the NCAA tournament. Were you able – have you said anything to Terrence about that process of coming back, since you are so familiar essentially with doing it from last season?
Yeah, I do. That's funny that you said that, because before last game we sat down before the game and just kind of talked about everything. I asked him, you know, how's he feeling, how's, you know, everything, getting back to it. And he said, because I said, you know, once he came back, everybody expected him to just be like his old self, and that's just unrealistic, especially playing at this high level of basketball. You know, injuries versus kind of what he came back from is it's different, but it's similar in a way, because you're not getting those live game reps. I mean, you could practice for a week straight, and it'd be completely different than playing in the game with the fans and the crowd and the adrenaline. It's just so different. Like, you can't replicate playing in the actual game. So, and, you know, he mentioned to me that the first couple games he was tired and couldn't really catch a second wind, but now that he's been back, he feels great. And, you know, I was excited to hear that, because I can tell from experience. You know, last year, the first couple games that I came back, I remember not being able to hit a shot, and then you kind of find a rhythm and get back to what you do and have a lot more confidence.
Luke, let's talk about it. Last night, you know what it's like, of course, to have it going as a shooter, and Terrence to make 4 threes in a span of less than 5 minutes at the end of the first half. Then he continues that heater after halftime. Just how was that watching him? I mean, I'm sure you've seen it before. It probably felt like, okay, that guy looked like he's fully back. And then, like you mentioned earlier, he also had it going defensively too.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, shoot, I was the one to assist him his first couple threes, so yeah. I like when I pass the ball and it goes in, right? But, you know, to get him going like that is huge. 31 points is not easy to do, regardless of what level you're at. And for him to be efficient again, I think is huge for his confidence. And, you know, for the team going forward, we have a lot more faith and trust in TJ to do what he does. And, you know, we can build on that going into the next couple games.
When he's doing his thing like that last night, Luke, and you're out there with him, or you've got front row seat being yelled at by Brad Underwood for something, we covered that last week, Derek. I'll fill you in. What's that like, just watching him just do his thing?
Yeah, it's nice. It's you know, it's pretty impressive just to see, you know, someone of that size and that athleticism to put it all together and be
right.
special like that. You know, since I've gotten to know Terrence, you know, he's got some of the best work ethic I've ever seen in somebody like that, and he's just putting it to use now. So, you know, as a teammate, I love it too, because it makes our team great. And you know, just as a friend of his, and just kind of being able to watch that, it's you don't get a lot of talents like that. So, Illinois fans, you know, have been blessed with some All-Americans in the past, and he you know, not sure if he'll actually be one just because of everything that happens, but he more than deserves to be one. So.
Well, Luke, it's Valentine's Day. Let's talk about one of your teammates you got a lot of love for through the years, Coleman Hawkins. Hilarious on Twitter, by the way. I don't know if you follow him. I was just kidding.
Yeah, he's funny. Yeah, that's how he's in real life, too. He's a clown.
17 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. We know what he does defensively. Just as he continues to put this consistency together, what do you think's different about him this year? Maybe I said it there, but like, to be able to have the consistent production and what he's doing, obviously the three-point shooting's been a huge step forward. Just he seems to be answering a lot of what the NBA would have liked him to do coming back this year.
Yeah, I think it's just part of the process. You know, I will tell anybody this, but high major Division I basketball is one of the harder things that you can do, just in terms of ups and downs and confidence. And I mean, there's just so many things that go into a school, and now you got NIL, and there's just so many things to worry about, and there's such a process to it. You know, everybody in today's world wants results right away, and Coleman's an example of, you know, just letting the process play out, staying, you know, working hard, staying with the program, and just trusting in what the coaches have to do. And, you know, this is kind of it's coming to fruition now for him. He's had a couple up and down years in the past and battled with some stuff, Coach Underwood and everything, but that's just part of the process, man. A lot of people, when they see hardships, they kind of run from it, and he's been wanting to stick it out, and, it's paying off for him. So hopefully he'll get that opportunity at the next level once he's done here as well, but he's just playing great basketball.
I like kind of leaning on you, Luke. I asked you about that with Shannon. You being a pure shooter, and Coleman as a guy that Brad Underwood and the staff, to their credit, has always wanted to shoot more. Did you have discussions like through the years with Coleman about, hey, you got to get that ball up? I mean, you got to shoot. I mean, he's got a nice stroke when he lets it go.
Yeah, he does. It's just one of those things, like, he's such a disadvantage for the other team, especially because, you put a guard on him and then you have your big guy on Ty, and that hasn't worked out for the past 8 games. And, if you put a big guy on him, he just pick and pop, and there's no rim protector at the rim. So there's just so much diversification that we could do with him at the 5-man, being able to shoot like that. And, I know that one of the quotes on Twitter of him after he hit some threes was, I just stopped caring, and that's honestly what happened. He was kind of getting down on himself from time to time, especially beginning of the season when he didn't shoot it well. And, all of us were like, dude, F it. Like, go out there and just shoot the ball. Like, we know that you can do it. You work on it, and, it's something that can help our team. So I think he got that mindset and hasn't looked back since then.
Amen.
What about his quote of saying that he's dateable for mature women out there because he's of that age, that being Quincy Guerrier?
Yeah, that was funny. That was really funny. I did not expect him to say that because Quincy sent it to our group chat, and I thought, like, her tweet was like, I didn't really laugh at it. Like, it was just like a weird, like, not weird, but like just a tweet. And then I saw Coleman's reply. I was like, oh my gosh, that's funny. I was like, because we always mess with Quincy. We're like, yeah, like he's the same age as our assistant coaches, all that stuff. So we always mess with him about that.
Who's up there on the comedian rankings in the locker room? I assume Coleman's up there. You're a pretty funny dude, as we know.
Yeah, my nickname is actually Clown, so they call me Clown. Like, that's actually what my nickname. Like, all the coaches do too. Like Coach Brad. Long story short, I got called a clown in the team meeting once, and so everybody calls me that. And so we did our gift. I don't know if you guys watched like the gift thing that we did. Yeah, AJ got me clown costumes. So, I would like to think that I'm one of the more funny guys, but our team honestly has a good personality. Every time we're in the locker room together, we're always laughing. So, but yeah, Coleman's definitely up there.
That's important, isn't it, Luke? It's important to be able, in a long season, to have some fun together. All of us that have grown up playing sports or in any kind of a situation where you're with a group, you've got to have some fun, man, because otherwise you guys will go crazy with the pressure.
No, you're right. Everybody thinks that, some of the best parts of being on a good team like this, a high major team, is kind of the games and all that stuff. But 90% of my memories that are going to come from this and this experience is just the times with the teammates, man. I'll never forget being in Spain and some of the stuff that happened in Spain, or being on the road and, something happens on the road. Those are the things that you remember and you cherish. The games, I remember a few of them, the big games and stuff like that. But it's really just the time with your teammates, man. Those are your forever friends. So it's kind of one of those, those moments are pretty special.
Luke Goody joining us on the Tapman's Towing phone line. Is there such a thing as carrying such a big win into Maryland? Or, I think I know the answer, you just got to go right back to the drawing board, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. And, I don't think coaches won there. And they came in here and they beat us. And that's not something that we take lightly. Terrence wasn't with us, but that's no excuse. We just played a bad game, and we're going to be ready to go for sure. We had an off day today, and tomorrow, we'll get back to it and have a good couple days of practice and prep. And, we'll go into Maryland and do what we do and hopefully get a win.
Luke, as you think back on the first meeting, what has to change as you lace them up against the Terps this time?
Yeah, I think it's our defense for sure. That's a cliche thing to say right now, and kind of what the idea is with the coaching staff and Coach Brad. But that's honestly what it is. We got to be able to stop Jameer Young, keep him off the glass, and don't let Julian Reese affect the game.
Simple as that.
That sounds right. Well, listen, Young can get going. Dante Scott can get going too. Is he one of those tough? How tough of a matchup is a guy like that, as strong as he can be?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like Marcus. I mean, he's a guy that can post up. He's big. He can post up and he can shoot. So when you got that, I mean, it's tough guard because the way that the Big Ten's called, you can't really put hands on the offensive guy. So,
Sure.
I mean, these guys are getting in the post, and it's basically your way versus their way, and they have a lot more of a advantage based on the rules than what you do on defense. So, he's a great player. He's a capable shooter, a good shooter, and, gets to his spots. Been playing college basketball for a while, so he's definitely some guy that we got to be ready for.
Luke, around this time of year, a lot of people looking at tournament resumes and quad one wins and that kind of stuff. As a player, do you pay attention to that? Do you pay attention to maybe what a win could do on a resume or just kind of where you guys are at as this picture is right now, a month before essentially Selection Sunday? Or is it too soon for that?
Yeah, I do for sure. Especially quad one wins and any losses outside of quad one are very important. I stay more on Canton. I like just the statistics of everything and all that. But, the net is important. It's, something that needs to be looked at this time of year, especially in conference play, because you want to stack up those quad one wins just for seeding. And I think seeding is an important part of that. But, I mean, outside of that, I don't really look at it too much.
Luke, before we let you go, how's it been with the Underwood fan with another Super Bowl ring on their finger?
Oh, my.
Yeah, I mean, they text in the group chat, both Coach Brad and Tyler. So, I grew up a Chiefs fan, so I'm not really too upset with it, but I just
Trent
like
Green,
to see,
yeah.
I think it's cool to, see dynasties. Because my dad always talks about MJ's dynasty and how he watched it growing up. And, now I can say in the future that, I watched Mahomes, the end of Tom Brady's dynasty and the start of Mahomes' dynasty and Steph Curry and the Warriors. I just like to see dynasties like that, so I can say I watched it.
Like your dynasty over Michigan has been.
Yeah, and I can say I'm a part of that one.
Absolutely. That's been brilliant to watch. Brilliant. Well, Luke, I hope you're taking advantage of this nice day outside, man. It is beautiful. We always enjoy having you on, my friend. Good luck in Maryland. We'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you, too. Have a great week.
Thanks, too, Luke. Buddy. That is Luke Goody. What a kind man to text you and tell you congratulations.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome.
I mean,
he's awesome. Yep.
Think about all the things he's got going on.
I know. Meant a lot to me.
For him to do that is really nice. And we are proud to bring Luke Goody to you, and we're proud that we have 3 unbelievable sponsors: Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend. And what a day today. Shut the heat off or whatever and get some sunshine in, but the cold weather's coming. So make sure you get a hold of Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing to make sure everything's going to work right when you need it. First Federal Savings Bank, local and trusted. That is a name you've heard for years and years. And by Max Twin City Recycling, just getting it done on a yearly basis with Max Twin City Recycling, getting rid of a lot of stuff around our area. So thanks to those 3 sponsors, and thanks to Luke Goody. That is always a fun segment to have each week. He's
Absolutely.
a funny dude, man.
Oh, he is. He's very entertaining, jokester, but great insight. I mean, he's just really good at this.
He's really good at this. He would be, I can see him already in the Big Ten studios.
Oh, yeah.
Doing this
100%.
one day. Now, I know he wants to hopefully play basketball, I'm sure, past his days at Illinois, but it's exciting to know you're going to have him back next year. It was weird last season with the way that year went, and there were some frustrations. And I know Luke, I mean, he even told me on the phone before, he's like, man, I got to start bringing it better. I just haven't had my best games. But obviously having a threat like him on the court that can shoot. Now, last year you had Shannon, you had
Meyer.
Meyer, yeah, I couldn't think of his name. So you had that potential, obviously, out there.
Also,
Jaden
a lot
Epps
of
could shoot.
Yeah, R.J. Melendez.
Oh, yeah, RJ.
I was saying the other way.
Oh, no, you're right.
A pretty tough year from 3 for him.
Big
and
time.
A lot of other guys.
But there's no doubt, I think, that Luke Goody helps your team just roll a lot smoother. Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah.
he can come in. We obviously saw the last game, where he was kind of not beaten up, but they took advantage a little bit with Michigan State and Malik Hall, who's just a bad matchup for so many people. But I think Illinois missed Luke last season, and we all sat there thinking we want him back a third year or another year even. We don't want him to waste that. But he was adamant that he wanted to be playing in that NCAA tournament last season, and I'm glad he did. And now we've got him all season. And you still got Luke Goody another year. That's fantastic. I mean, that's great for us. Hopefully we'll continue to talk to him, but also for Illinois and Illinois fans to know you've got that kid shooting the rock for you the next few years.
Luke's a good player. The ability to shoot the three, his motor has never been in question. I never, even some of his recent struggles defensively or last night, getting the ball ripped away from him, it's not a lack of effort. I think he just has to finish some plays a little bit more defensively, which he's capable of doing.
Sure.
Does he have some limitations as far as guarding in space? Sure. Or like being matched up with Malik Hall. I mean, you can make that argument just as much, probably more on Brad for having that matchup play out the way it did instead of pivot. And instead of like, Luke, why'd you not get it done type of thing. I'm not. Anyways, I think Luke would tell you, as you mentioned, that he can play better. We know that he can. And that he seems like a really good guy in terms of a competitive guy that will give his all, will shoot the three, and seems like a really good guy in the locker room too. So,
amen.
And great on the radio. So he's got a lot going for him.
Clown. Luke Clown Goody. I bet Underwood, he just shakes his head sometimes at guys like Luke Goody and Coleman Hawkins. He's probably just like, oh my God. But how fun would that be, though, to hang around those guys?
Pretty fun.
I mean, it's a grind. You know
it
from sports you played. I know it from sports I played. It is an absolute grind. And that was in high school where you're just taking a trip 25 minutes down the road. You're not going to Penn State or soon out west and taking these huge trips. It's a grind. And for those guys to be able to let off some steam and have some fun, that is so important to a team. 100%. Last year's team, I mean, they didn't seem like they were always having fun last year.
No.
I can remember those post games, and you're just like, awkward. Like it'd be Shannon and why can't I think of his name?
Matthew Meyer. Have you blocked it out of your head?
I have. I totally have. It'd be those two up there, and
Monster Energy causes memory loss.
Well, then, obviously, I haven't. I think other things have caused that for me. But yeah, I mean, it was just sometimes they were just like, yeah. Now they're just fun.
Yeah.
They're just having fun. So I hope it continues.
Fun team to watch, and you can tell that they genuinely are getting along really well and having fun together, and hopefully that extends deep into March. Let's hear from Juwan Howard. His comments last night sparked some conversation on Twitter, and let's also get to some other post-game as well. I do want to talk a little bit about Chris Holtmann before we get out of here. Also a big injury for Northwestern on the basketball side, too.
Yeah.
If you want to weigh in, you can. 217-359-2255 on the U of I Line Link text line. This is The Drive.
Illini fans, this year we celebrate the 100th anniversary of Memorial Stadium for the 2024 Fighting Illini football season. Season tickets for the 2024 football season are on sale now, and Illini fans who renew their season tickets by February 1st are eligible to win amazing prizes, memorabilia, and experiences. Secure your season tickets for Homecoming, Dad's Day, and a special rededication of Memorial Stadium on October 19th against Michigan. Visit fightingillini.com for more information.
Accumulation, preservation, generation. At Busey Bank, these are the principles we use to build meaningful financial partnerships with our clients and their families. With sound advice and vast resources, partner with Busey for a personalized approach to your legacy. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
The Alma Market is your one-stop shop for one-of-a-kind creations from the University of Illinois alumni and students, as well as unique finds from some of your favorite Urbana-Champaign area businesses. Treat yourself or a loved one and support your fellow Illini today. If you're a University of Illinois student, alum, or Champaign-Urbana area business, feature your products on the Alma Market. Becoming a vendor is a great way to expand your reach and connect with Illini across the country. For more details, visit almamarket.org. Go Illini!
Kelsey Furniture in downtown Tuscola sells Tempur-Pedic beds. What's it like?
I'm going to tell you right now, Stevie, that thing is the best thing I've ever slept on in my life. My wife and I both have said we've never had better night's sleep. And the people at Kelsey's were fantastic. Brian is the guy that helped us. You know, as much as I did my research, he has a world of knowledge about beds themselves. Oh, man, it's like sleeping on a cloud, man.
Kelsey Furniture, downtown Tuscola.
Get ready to hit the road with confidence wherever you're.
Hey, where are you headed?
To Kelsey Furniture in Tuscola.
What do they have there?
What don't they have there? Living room furniture, benches, chests, love seats, sectionals, tables, bedroom sets, hutches, nightstands, end tables, cabinets, mirrors, stools, clocks, lamps, pillows, rugs, desks, media consoles, patio furniture, Tempur-Pedic mattresses, and more.
So, everything.
Yeah, probably could have just said that.
Kelsey Furniture, quality for less.
This is a familiar sound in Illinois.
Cold snap grappling with heavy snowfall while bracing themselves for a significant winter storm.
The snow will come, but you need to go to work, to school, to the store, to care for family. When the weather's rough, you need a vehicle that's tough. Sarah of Champaign wants to put you in an Outback, Forester, Crosstrek, or Ascent. There are so many reasons why a Subaru SUV is the best vehicle to drive during winter months. Standard symmetrical all-wheel drive, vehicle dynamics control, 8.7 inches of ground clearance, and available X mode for when the snow is extra deep. That adds up to performance and safety. Don't wait for the next storm warning. If you have to get where you're going, no matter the weather, see the huge selection and great deals at Sarah Subaru today. Route 45 in Savoy, or online at sarahsubaruchampaign.com.
Get ready to hit the road with confidence wherever your journey takes you. Clay Dooley Tire and Auto is here for all of your tire needs. Whether you're navigating the city streets or setting off on your next road trip, Clay Dooley has the perfect tires to keep your vehicle rolling smoothly. Find a great set of tires that fits your budget, plus take advantage of flexible financing options. Get the tires you need now and pay over time. Visit the Champaign location or call 352-4286 to talk to a tire expert today.
Short-term market fluctuations can be unnerving for everyone. A proven way to tune out the noise and focus on long-term investment goals is to adhere to a well-constructed investment plan. This is Eric Boland with Provident Financial Group. If you don't have a plan in place, we can help create one designed specifically for you. Call us today for a complimentary consultation. Contact us at 217-366-3456 or find us online at providentfinancialgroupllc.com.
Securities and advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, member FINRA, SIPC, a registered investment advisor.
Back on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Great stuff as always with Luke Goody. Let's hit on one of the storylines from last night after Illinois and Michigan. And I said it to Jeremy Warner and Joey Wagner during the game. I hope, and you think about Juwan being on the edge in terms of maybe he's done after this year, maybe he's not. Maybe he's completely, I don't want to say he's checked out, that he's not coaching or anything, but they're having an abysmal year.
It's got to be. Maybe
he's more willing to say stuff than in other seasons where you're trying to button it up. I don't want to say anything to rile up the Illinois team that we might play again, whatever. I said, I hope he just kind of says, screw it, and I'm going to go out and tell everybody that Terrence was coming to Michigan. And Kyle?
Sean, I know you're familiar with Terrence Shannon. What stood out?
Very familiar with Terrence Shannon. You're welcome.
Would you elaborate on that? What stood out about him today?
You're welcome. Yeah. Terrence Shannon is a guy who I recruited, who committed to the University of Michigan, as you all are very aware of. And you're welcome. He's played extremely well since he's been here. And I'm so proud of him. He's started out the season playing great basketball. And then when he took that break, he came back. It's like he hasn't lost a step, and that's so hard to do. Sitting out for the time that he did, and to hit the ground running like he had missed. And I commend their staff for, being able to support him throughout this process. But it's not easy for a young man what he's been through. I'm sure what the young lady has been through. It's not easy on both sides. But I wish Terrence can stay healthy and finish up this year. So I think he has a lot of basketball ahead of him.
You're welcome.
Did I forget? Like, did I miss something? Like, did he did he just say, we're going to trade Shannon to Illinois for Amari Burnett? I mean, why is he saying you're welcome?
He's saying you're welcome because Michigan, although never publicly, there was no public commitment by Terrence Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
So when he says that he committed, it would have been the old fabled silent verbal that happens. It does happen in recruiting, obviously, but they were trending towards landing Terrence in the transfer portal, and it was highly speculated, and it was out there. It wasn't a secret, and it shifted at the very end of that recruitment where there was talks of academically he couldn't get into Michigan because of it wasn't because he was a bad student or anything. Terrence played 3 years at Texas Tech. He wasn't a grad transfer, so
that's right. And
there's
they had
some
a rule,
credits
right?
things
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
who they're going to admit based on to give a degree from Michigan and whatnot. He was highly expected to only spend 1 year wherever he was going to go and then go to the NBA. So I think there was hesitancy and then ultimately a no out of Michigan's admissions process that he couldn't get in. So Illinois was able to then swoop in and scoop him up. And based on, I think we haven't talked about it a lot, but it seemed like Illinois had to pull some strings even because they have some of their own standards as far as how many credit hours you have to take to get an undergrad degree and whatnot. So Illinois made it work. Michigan wasn't able to, and Juwan is probably laughing a little bit through the pain.
Yes.
As he was doing last night. So
that makes more sense then with the, well, you're welcome because we couldn't get him into Michigan.
Right. That's what he's getting at.
Yeah. Instead of, I decided at the last minute I didn't want him on my team.
Yeah, I told him to go to Illinois.
Right. I called Brad.
That's a good idea. Go to Illinois.
This is the guy who'd be good for you, Brad. Yeah, listen, I mean, and we talked about it in the first hour. There's no doubt that Shannon coming here instead of Michigan has turned both those programs, in not that Illinois would have been, I don't think, as bad as Michigan is now, but certainly Michigan was probably hoping to get a guy like him. And you put him on that younger team of Michigan, well, not really younger, but they've got some weapons. I mean, that could make a difference with that team this season. There's no doubt.
And they would have had him last year, too.
Yeah,
with Hunter when he was there. They had Kobe Buffkin and Jet Howard, who were both first-round draft picks this past year.
Wow.
And it just was an offseason of disaster, really the past 2 years for Michigan, where you go back 2 years ago, they had both Caleb Houston and Moussa Diabate making draft decisions. Houston was pretty well expected, and he did stay in the draft. Diabate was a guy that was thought that maybe was more on the fringe.
Right.
And I don't know. I forget where he ended up getting picked, and I think he might still be in the G League or something like that. But there seemed to be a chance that he could come back, and then they seemed to be trending towards getting Terrence. So there was a world where last year's Michigan, who fell short of making the tournament, they were 17-15 after losing to Rutgers in the Big Ten tournament, where they'd have Hunter Dickinson, Terrence Shannon, Moussa Diabate, Jet Howard, Kobe Buffkin, Doug McDaniel. Like, they could have been extremely talented. Now, some of Michigan's problem is that they haven't collectively played beyond a level or at a level of their actual talent. So I wouldn't be surprised if Juwan's sitting there and saying that might end up being the turning point, part of the turning point of my tenure at Michigan, where it's gone off the rails, and now he's either on the chopping block or he's going to have a must-win year next year. And even in this offseason, they got a commitment, an actual public commitment from Caleb Love, the transfer from North Carolina, and then admissions blocked that one as well, and he ends up at Arizona. So some of the criticism has to be on Juwan, especially the second time.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, can you vet these and run them through admissions before you get a commitment and make us look bad? We're getting a guy, then we're not. So he's obviously salty about it. I didn't mind it. I didn't mind him saying that. I think that for Michigan fans, it's going to fall on deaf ears. It's going to be just more of excuses of why things have gone wrong, but obviously it swung things big time for what Illinois has gotten and what Michigan missed out on.
Well, I think if Juwan is gone after this year, I'm going to just always use that post game as his way of saying, you're welcome. You were 8-0 against me. And so you're welcome for all the victories you had against me. Congratulations. I basically flopped against you, Illinois. So thank you, Juwan. Thank you. That's the way I'm going to look at it.
Kyle,
I don't know.
You got a problem with it?
Yeah.
I didn't love it. I mean, come on, man. Your team just lost by 30 to a team that's beaten you 8 times, and your response is "you're welcome," as if you had anything to do with that. I didn't really.
I get that part of it. Yeah.
Just like the look of doing it after that game, where it's like the lowest of low points, and you're somehow gonna like get some snarky comment and like, yeah, well, see, I contributed to your best player. I contributed to you owning me 8-0.
Exactly.
If you can't beat him, join him.
Exactly.
Juwan's trying to show some orange and blue colors. You're welcome, guys.
Have him come be an assistant coach next year.
Recruit Chicago. No, Tim Anderson does pretty well, though.
Right, he's doing all right with that. Well, I said it earlier this year. How weird would it be if Michigan and Ohio State both needed new coaches? And I know we always think of the Big Ten in a football way. A lot of times you think of that. And you look at those two programs and how much they dominate on the football end. But now in the basketball end, you've got two programs that are the bottom of the Big Ten, essentially. And Ohio State did it today. They got rid of Chris Holtmann as their coach, and you wonder if Michigan won't do the same at the end of this season. Or, you said it too, like, Juwan looks defeated. Like, even if Michigan was okay with keeping him another year, you almost get the sense that Juwan would be like, I don't know, it's not working here. But he's not going to walk away from Michigan.
Right.
I can't imagine. I don't know. Who do they have back?
They're not going to bring back – they could bring back Doug McDaniel.
Okay.
Kamwa, I don't think, has another year.
I think he's out. You
think Doug McDaniel's going to come back after
probably.
This whole situation?
Okay, never mind. Doug McDaniel could come back. Doug McDaniel likely probably wouldn't come back.
Would you take him as your point guard next year?
I would, yeah. As a talent, yes. Does Kamwa have another year? He does not.
Okay, because he came from Tennessee.
Yep. Terrence
Reed?
Williams will probably be gone unless is he a 5th year? He's a 4th year, so he had a COVID year if he wants it.
I could see him actually transferring to a really good team.
Yeah.
As a role player.
Being a spot up, kind of like Grandison.
Yeah.
With Duke that year.
Terrace Reed could come
back.
back.
Point.
I think Terrace Reed can be a good big man.
Yeah.
Cheddar will be back. Then again, like you said, like you guys mentioned, especially when you have turbulent seasons where you don't win at all, you got to worry about guys looking for greener pastures. And on the note of, I think one of the risks that Michigan runs with bringing Juwan back is it's hard to recruit when you got a coach that's firmly and very publicly on the hot seat.
No doubt.
Now, maybe in terms of like a 1-year rental, like you go and get a 5th-year guy in the portal, you don't worry about it because you know he'll be there for 1 season. But if you're going back into recruiting high school guys, which they've done a really good job of getting talented pieces, you just wonder about that fall off. Like even Jeremiah Fears was a guy that was seriously considering Michigan, but didn't end up visiting there before his decision, and Michigan pretty much fell onto the wayside because they don't know if a guy in 25 who's a top 50 recruit would even be playing for Juwan if he ended up committing to Michigan. So that's where some tough decisions will have to be made. What's interesting, though, while Holtmann gets canned, and that was very much expected at the end of the season, I think the firing of it coming today is more of the
surprised me a little.
Especially for a guy that it's not like he was a train wreck there.
Right.
I don't think he's maybe like poisoning the well in terms of culture or anything like that. But maybe he just wanted a jump start on the coaching search. But some of the reporting and the talks out of Michigan have been that Juwan is more likely to stay than not. Although we'll see what that final record ultimately will do to their just the overall sentiment around the program and what because NIL dollars are really important. You could have donors who say, you think I'm going to contribute to the NIL fund when you're bringing Juwan back. Like that,
Right.
that stuff that stuff's important.
I bet.
I know it's usually thought of just a athletic department decision, but there are some things that could sway and really force Juwan out the door if Michigan supporters are done with him.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. And it'll be interesting because there's just a lot of it feels like with that program right now, it's just like apathy, as bad as it is. But I'm not there. I'm sure, I don't know. You're coming off a national championship in football. I'm sure their fan base it's kind of like Ohio State, in basketball.
Well, it's a program legend.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you would never fire Juwan mid-season. You could do it to Chris Holtmann because Chris Holtmann doesn't have any lasting legacy there.
Yep.
So even firing him after this year, we saw Scott Frost hanging on as long as he did in Nebraska.
That's
there have
true.
been other guys that when they played there and were like Patrick Ewing probably got an extra year or two at Georgetown because he's Patrick Ewing. And
It's
he was
the
a
fear of hiring one of your
phenomenal
own, right?
player.
Yep.
So
yep.
I think that it should be Juwan's last year. I think
I-
anybody out there that's not a Michigan person, and probably most of their fan base would say it should be. I just wonder, too, I mentioned to you guys off the air. On the note, I want to get into a little bit. I know we got to catch a break, but get into a little bit of the decision to get rid of Chris Holtmann and then who could be available for them, some of the candidates. But would you want to stand by in a coaching carousel that could be pretty eventful this offseason if you're Michigan – and even to a lesser extent, although I think it's relevant, Indiana.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to just stick with Mike Woodson because let's give him one more chance when maybe there's an opportunity to seriously upgrade this offseason when Ohio State's going to do it, when Michigan could maybe do it. I wonder if that pressure pushes the button on Juwan or Mike Woodson or both.
Who's the young man, Dusty May?
Yes.
Who was an Indiana guy.
Indiana manager under Bob Knight, yep.
So you wonder if you're Indiana, I mean, you could easily
He's going somewhere.
You could see him going to Ohio State. You could see him going to Michigan. More Ohio State, I think. You wonder if Indiana doesn't say, if we don't make this decision now, we're never going to have Dusty May.
Potentially,
Or
yeah.
it's going to be 4 or 5 years down the road.
Louisville's going to be open?
Oh, that's true. Well, Thad Matta's back in the coaching. Would he take over Ohio State again? I don't think so.
No, I don't think they want him.
You mentioned Sean Miller.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of dropped. He kind of fell off, didn't he, after all those allegations at Arizona and such?
Yeah, they had a good year at Xavier last year.
Yeah, they
though.
did.
I
They
think
did.
They were like a 3 seed.
It seems like it.
I think they went to the Sweet 16. They lost some key pieces from that team this offseason, and they haven't had as good of a year this year.
The old retread coaches. That's what I'd like about Dusty May, is that, he's not – to me, that would be a no-brainer for Indiana if you want to move on from Woodson.
Right.
I mean, that's – and I wonder how much pressure Indiana's going to face now, knowing that if they don't do it now, they're not getting him. Because like you said, he'll go somewhere probably.
No doubt.
I don't know. You brought up a good point, Kyle. Who's the name you brought up for Ohio State?
Greg McDermott from Creighton.
That's interesting because he's done well at Creighton.
No doubt.
And he's coached for a long time, and I mean, I could see him at Ohio State, and I think he would help that program. I don't think there's any doubt. But I know I made the dumb thing about Chris Holtmann being the best coach in America.
That's all right. I was very high on Archie Miller in that same
vein,
that same coaching carousel,
right?
And thought that'd be a home run hire for Illinois. Maybe things work out a little bit differently at a different spot, but obviously it was a pretty clear failure at Indiana.
Yeah.
He's now coaching Rhode Island.
That's unbelievable. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, Ohio State made the first move, and now we'll see if that puts pressure on Michigan and Indiana to make the next. Is there anybody else in the Big Ten that would be in danger?
Ben Johnson's done a lot to save his job this year. Probably
Willard should be okay
safe.
at Maryland.
Yeah, Willard should be safe.
Peichel's fine at Rutgers. He's bringing in the top two players basically in the country.
Right. They would never move off of that. And even they're playing better as well. That's got to help. Is Izzo ever going to say, screw it, I'm out. I don't want to deal with people wanting me to get transfers? I don't know.
Is this son is this his last year for his son?
I'd look it up.
Steven
Izzo.
I keep waiting for Izzo to just say, that's it. I've had enough.
Well, we've seen it with Jay Wright.
Yep.
I mean, older guys like Coach K and Roy Williams.
I mean, Izzo won a
Izzo's
national
not a spring
title.
chicken.
No. What more does he have to prove,
Steven Izzo's 23, so I'd imagine he's probably towards the end of – he's listed as a senior.
So maybe Tom goes out this season. Can you imagine Ohio State, Michigan, Indiana, Michigan State, all those job openings in 1 year, in the same year? That would be interesting. Fran's not going anywhere at Iowa, I would assume.
He's not getting fired.
No, but
his son is also last year for Patrick, right?
Is he the last one, Patrick?
He's got another, but he's not going to Iowa.
Okay.
There's been some whispers of Fran looking to maybe bounce.
Well,
he wanted, or there was talk of him wanting Notre Dame.
Okay. And he did win, not win, but he did pass Tom Davis for the most wins at Iowa. So maybe he's done enough, Maybe Fran is like, hey, I'm number one on that list now. Although, man, you could stay there another 2 or 3 years and really cement yourself as the Iowa all-time winningest coach.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a chance it'll be broken again. I'm sure people didn't think somebody would break Dr. Tom's record, but yeah, I mean, boy, you could have a lot of different things occur in the Big Ten. It could be an interesting offseason.
No doubt. Let's talk a little bit more about that before we finish up as well and get to your text, 217-359-2255 on the U of I Illini Link text line. We'll finish up the show when we return. This is The Drive.
A tradition of excellence over 150 years in the making. At Busey Bank, we're committed to building relationships that span generations. Wherever your journey in life leads you, we are with you along the way, creating a legacy for you and your family. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868, proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
BMW, Buick, GMC, Honda, and Subaru. Welcome to Sarah Champagne. We can handle all your car repairs on site, including paintless dent repair, bumpers, windshields, everything in between. We have an amazing selection of new or pre-owned vehicles to choose from. Shop from home and buy online or reserve your vehicle before it hits our website or dealership. Sarah Champagne is home of the Sarah One Price Promise, delivering an honest and transparent buying experience. Hurry in or shop online at sarahchampagne.com.
From computer systems to brakes and tires too, at PDR, fixing cars is what they do. Remember, when you turn the key and the car won't run, call 367-9481 or use their dedicated text-only line at 383-0619. Additional information including repair quotes and online scheduling requests available from the website at pdrauto.com. Remember, they are what's best for your truck or car. They are PDR.
This is XYZ Insurance. How can I help?
I have a question about my home policy.
Okay, question about phone policy.
Home policy.
Okay, gnome policy.
HOME, home.
Technology is great, but sometimes it's better to talk with a real person. With Erie Insurance, you have a caring, independent agent who's with you from beginning to end.
We don't have any HOMEs on record.
Your Erie agent in Champaign is Thomas & Ellers Insurance. Go to erieinsurance.com for company licensure and product details.
Thank you for choosing 2 Men in a Truck. How may I help you?
Hi, I have a strange question. What happens if it snows on moving day? I don't want my furniture to get wet and destroyed.
Well, that's not strange at all. We have the same concerns for your furniture. With over 9 million moves completed, our team is experienced to handle any weather conditions. Because we pad and stretch wrap your furniture before we put it on the truck, we'll make sure your belongings are safe and dry no matter what the forecast says.
Not sure how your move is going to work? Go to 2meninatruck.com for your free estimate.
You've changed thousands of diapers, played hours of peekaboo and duck, duck, goose because you do anything for your kids. That's why it's so important to protect them with life insurance from State Farm. State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow will help make it easy and affordable to help you protect your family no matter what the future holds. Because for the people you do anything for, life insurance could mean everything. Call State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow in Champaign-Urbana today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Have you ever wondered why you pay your bank to have a checking account with them? We do too. At Fisher National Bank, we offer free checking accounts that reward you to bank with us. Our Rewards Cashback Checking offers 2.02% cash back on debit card purchases up to $500 monthly. No service fees or balance requirements needed to earn rewards. For a free checking account that pays you back, simply make 12 debit card purchases, receive electronic statements, and have one direct deposit within a monthly cycle. It's so simple. We bet you're doing most of these things already. With Rewards Cashback Checking, you have access to Reward Saver, which earns 4.07 annual percentage yield on balances up to $20,000. Reward yourself with free Rewards Cashback Checking and Reward Saver, a few of the many ways Fisher National Bank invests in our customers. See monthly requirements at any branch or fishernational.com. Fisher National Bank. Exceptional communities, exceptional people. Member FDIC.
Basketball star Coleman Hawkins about Pacifica on Green.
I'm Coleman Hawkins. I like living at Pacifica on Green. Yeah, my favorite thing is probably the game room. Family came and visited me and we had a blast in the game room. Playing Mario Kart together, just playing every game that they have in there, just competing and having fun. So no quarters, no. Everything's free. If you live here, it's all free. You come and visit, it's free.
The ultimate in student housing, Pacifica on Green. Visit them at pacificaongreen.com.
A few more minutes on the drive with Sam Piper, ESPN Radio 93.5. Matt on the U of I Atlanta Link text line. If we get bounced in the first round again, will we be looking for a new coach?
Oh, boy.
No.
Boy, first round. God, that sounds
be
horrible,
tough.
doesn't it?
That would be tough.
That'd be like a 13, right?
Yeah, but the answer's still no.
No, I'm not saying that it would
right,
be.
Right. It'd be brutal to take.
Oh. Who's a 13 seed this year? Indiana State? No, they're ranked.
No.
They got beat.
Oh, what
Ryan
a
Peaton
terrible
last
loss
night, man.
for them last
They got
night.
beat.
Congrats to Ryan Peaton.
That's the challenge of being a Valley team. You climb that hill, you finally get there, and then boom, you get knocked back down. It's like
13 seeds right now. UC Irvine, UNC Wilmington, South Florida, and Akron.
Oh,
that's happening. That's the first round matchup.
Definitely.
On the note of Akron, Lindy says John Gross to Ohio State, where he was an assistant for Thad Matta for a number of years, was part of recruiting Greg Oden and Mike Conley to Ohio State. But no, John Gross will not be coaching Ohio State next
For the
year.
record, Lindy is serious.
Because
he
I'm
just
sure
texted
he
me and he
is.
said check his record the last 3 years. John has done.
He's done a good job.
He's done a good job
But
at Akron.
it's
but
not going to happen.
I can't imagine Ohio State going with John Gross.
Lamont Paris is far more attractive, and I think he's very gettable. Probably it seems like the National Coach of the Year front runner. He was the head coach at Chattanooga when they probably should have beaten Illinois, and then now at South Carolina, and they're having a heck of a season. He's got Big Ten ties. He was an assistant under Bo Ryan at Wisconsin.
Oh,
so
I thought I heard. I thought I knew that name.
He's
That's
one
why.
to look for
Okay.
a Big Ten move, whether it be Michigan, whether it be Ohio State.
Okay.
He could maybe be in the mix for Louisville. But how about some other names as we think about this? I do want to get to the Northwestern news here as well. But so Ohio State, Sean Miller, Lamont Paris, Greg McDermott, I think would be a guy you
McDermott would
definitely
be
got
my
to talk
guy.
to.
That would be my guy if I were Ohio State.
Who else? Anybody else?
Nobody's coming to mind.
I keep seeing Nate Oates' name get thrown around. I think he's got like a $10 million buyout. He's won a lot of Alabama. It's been someone that there's been some buzz of like, hey, if Michigan was open, he was a high school coach for like a decade in the Detroit area. He's from, I don't know where he's from. If he's maybe from Wisconsin or something like that.
He's energetic.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mick Cronin.
Oh, that's one that I had in mind.
He was in Ohio for a while at Cincinnati.
I would like that a lot.
Right.
Wouldn't it be ironic if Chip Kelly left UCLA to go to Ohio State and then Mick Cronin leaves UCLA to go to Ohio State? They lose both of their revenue generating coaches to Ohio State.
To Ohio State. That would be, wow, welcome to the Big Ten, UCLA.
Yeah. But Cronin back in the Midwest and a guy that has a lot of ties in Ohio, that make a lot of sense.
That does make sense, Kyle. Good call.
Ty Berry for Northwestern. He erupted in that classic game at Mackey earlier this season, but went to overtime and he had 6 threes, 25 points. Really good three-point shooter for the Wildcats. He's done for the year after tearing his meniscus. Tough blow for Chris Collins, a team that isn't guaranteed to make the tournament.
No.
You look at bracket matrix, they're a 9 seed. They're on the right side of the bubble right now, but if they were to slip here going forward, they play at the Rack coming up on Thursday and then at Indiana over the weekend. Not easy games, especially the way Rutgers is playing. Bummed for Northwestern, a team that I thought could go on a little bit of a run in the tournament with the way that they play. I love watching